Well, this is a very hard acts to follow. I mean, this is incredible artistry and presentations, but I'll try. These are my talking points. These 5 pictures I've taken in the past from period of 1979 through 2004, being a presentation that was at the where was this concert at? Anybody remember? Brenda's concert?
Soul of the City?
Yeah, Soul of the City.
Maybe a couple years
Presidio.
ago.
Anyway, the pictures represent a kind of hobby or special interest that I've had in musicians ever since I was small, because I grew up in a household of music, basically. So I'll just read from my prepared speech. These 5 images represent as a phenomenon that music and culture from Asia, specifically here as representing China, Japan, and Korea, have been continually being brought from their native geography to the West through immigration and displacement due to political and social upheaval. My father, who was born during the Qing dynasty, which is pre-revolutionary China, he was born in 1899, learned the ancient art of Kunchu. Kunchu opera is the most primitive early form of Chinese opera that began in the 14th to 15th century in Kunshan near Shanghai. It started as a shamanic ritual that developed into a full-fledged operatic form. He learned the ancient art of Kunchu opera when he was a teenager. He was raised by my grandfather's influence in an environment of classical Confucian philosophy that included the practice of music, drama, calligraphy, and the scholarly reading of Chinese classical literature. In Shanghai, he befriended Mei Lanfang, who at the time was the greatest opera actor and singer in China. Mei Lanfang made a special appearance in New York City in 1930, and he befriended Paul Robeson, the famous opera singer in the United States, and they both had a great affinity toward each other. They also had some political ties. During the post-war period, our family moved to the U.S. in the late 1940s, and my father continued his opera practice and introduced Kunchu opera to audiences in the United States. I think he was really one of the first teachers of Kunchu form in the U.S., in the West, if I'm not mistaken. Mainly expats from the Chinese mainland. Hence, I was partly raised in this musical and theatrical environment. Just a note about that growing up in this Chinese environment. I grew up in the streets of New York City, so my influences were Chinese opera internally, but my friends and everybody around me, my peers, we were all listening to AM radio, to doo-wop, to the Beatles, and so forth. So I have a very eclectic kind of musical influence. Fast forwarding to my college days, in my photography practice, I've taken a keen interest in photographing artists, particularly musicians. In college, I was the lead photography editor, and I used to photograph all the musicians who came into town. During the late 60s, we had people like the Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin, Big Brother and Holding Company, Joni Mitchell came. So we were seeing all these young rising stars back in like 67, 68. Later on, of course, by the mid 70s, they'd become like superstars. But I photographed them kind of early. Fast forward to my college days. In this very brief series of 5 images, I'm attempting to illustrate the concept of music transmigration and transformation. There are those who perform timeless classical works, as well as those who have expanded their musical expression by learning the art of improvisation and hybridization of Eastern and Western musical scales and modes. The synthesis of new music is something I always found fascinating and eager to learn about. I'm going to show some, I'm going to play some audio samples that I prepared specifically illustrating the 5 types of music, starting with my father. My father came to San Francisco in 1979, and he was willing to play some flute for me, and we actually did a little interview. We talked about him coming to the U.S. and starting a business sponsored by the by the Chinese government. So he had 2 lives basically. He was a business person, but after he came back from Wall Street, the first thing he did was take off a suit and tie and start playing his flute. And that was his real love. I mean, his business was just so he could keep the family afloat. He actually had to support 2 families. His first family, his first wife, and my brother were in China, and they were impoverished during the Cultural Revolution and before. I think if you read Chinese history, there was the great famines of the 50s. So my brother had to suffer through all that. So basically, my father had to give half his salary to the other family. So we had a kind of a strange economy at that time. But anyway, I'll start playing these pieces. I have a Bluetooth device here, so it makes the sound a little better. I can get this going.
So techie, Bob.
Oh.
I can hold it for you.
So this is my father playing the flute. He's around almost 80 years old at this time. So, his playing was probably a lot better 20, 30 years prior to this. If you notice, he had this little glass of scotch here. Always helped him play better. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to move on a little bit quicker here so we can. This is not my father, but this is a full-fledged Kitsune orchestra playing in China, probably during the 1970s or 80s. So it's a full sound with multi-instruments. And you'll hear some of the instruments. You'll hear this instrument called a Hsiang. I'm sorry, I had 2 tracks going at once. Sorry about that. Okay, this is the full orchestra. I'm pretty sure that my father knew these pieces. My one regret is I didn't do more recordings of them. So we're going to move along here. The next cut is from Shoko. Shoko is this figure here. She's one of the foremost koto players from Japan. She's really amazing, and here she's illustrated with doing a duet with Mark Izu, who's a really good friend of ours. Unfortunately, Mark had passed on about 3 years ago, and I have him over here playing the Chinese Hsiang instrument. I'll talk about Mark a little bit more, but this is a shoko here.
We're live on YouTube.
Product placement there.
We have about free COVID resources. Websites here where
I'm sorry. Oh, she's doing a little spiel here.
Shinna. Experimental music by John Laskin. To composer Hoshina and John Laskin, thank you for allowing me to play your wonderful composition. To audience, thank you for being with us. I hope you will enjoy the program. John, shall we start?
Very easy to get entranced in this sound. Koto is really, really amazing instrument. So now we have, this is our friend Wang Fei. Wang Fei immigrated to the States around like the mid-2000s, 2008 or 2005 perhaps. She comes from a literary musical family in Beijing. So she started playing this Chin instrument here since she was very young. And she continues to play and teach it in Fremont, California here. So her sound is a little different. The Chin is the mother of all the lute instruments, from the koto to the komango in Korea. This is the first instrument of that type. The origin of this particular instrument goes back about 6,000 years. There's a famous Chinn solo that was done in the movie called Hero. Remember that famous film done back about 15 years ago. And it accompanies sword fight. The whole art of bending notes, I didn't realize went back 6,000 years. So from slide guitar, you
I think we're gonna have to wrap it up pretty soon.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to play one more tune, if it's okay. This is Mark. So this is Mark Izu. I'll just put this on for about a minute and get a sense of the sound. It's a very haunting kind of ethereal. Mark Izu, we met probably 40 to 45 years ago, at least. When we first came to San Francisco, he was a bass player. Well, he always played the bass. And later he began to start to discover instrumentation from Asia. And he also plays the sho, which is a Japanese version of the same instrument. I think I'll just put a halt there. We're amidst of this person, but time is kind of moving on fast. So, just if you're interested in her, I can show you some links where you can find her work. But all the instrumentation and the evolution of the sound from one continent to another has always been kind of a hobby of mine to listen to all the changes and the way the music fundamentally is the same, but at the same time it fuses in with Western elements, jazz, improvisation and whatnot. So I think that's pretty much it.